Hello and welcome to Statecraft IAS and Social Perspectives Sociology Newspaper Series. In this series, we shall discuss newspaper articles in sociological perspective and revise relevant sociological concepts in our UPSC Mains Sociology optional syllabus on daily basis with the help of newspaper. In today's video, in the first page of the Hindu, it was reported that Supreme Court backs summons to Facebook by Delhi government tries panel. Social media can influence vast sections, says order. In the article, it is said social media platforms such as Facebook have become power centers with the ability to influence vast sections of public opinions, the court noted. Now, by going through this statement, we can remind of Max Weber's power and authority concept in our syllabus. Max Weber, while defining power and authority, defines power as the ability to influence others for action even against their will. It can be coercive also. Now, here the Supreme Court also noted the same thing. Social media platforms such as Facebook are power centers and they have ability to influence vast sections of public opinions. And Max Weber defined classified authorities into three types. One is traditional authority, second one is charismatic authority, and the third one is rational legal authority. Traditional authority is something promoted by long drawn traditions and cultures. Charismatic authority is driven from exceptional characteristics and features. This can be passed on to the kin or a relative. Rational legal authority is something sanctioned by the legal authorities. Now, this particular authority or power enjoyed by social media platforms cannot be faced under any classification done by Max Weber. It is not traditional authority because social media platforms are not drawn from traditions. It is not charismatic authority exactly, though some people who are posting their opinions on platforms like Facebook and Twitter, though they have charismatic authority, social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter as a whole, they do not enjoy charismatic authority. Only it is partially true that they enjoy charismatic authority because of the celebrities who are posting opinions. But Facebook and Twitter are also drawn from many minute opinions or opinions from general public who do not enjoy any kind of authority. But they are drawing their authority with the help of social media platforms. Hence, social media platforms cannot be entirely placed under charismatic authority also. It is certainly not rational legal authority because such authority is not backed by any legal sanction or not any legislation. That is why Max Weber have been criticized. In Max Weber's criticism to Max Weber in regard to his power and authority concept, there is a criticism that there is anomaly in ideal types of social action and ideal types of power and authority. While Max Weber defined social action or classified social action into four types, he classified power and authority into only three types. Emotional action is missing in power and authority. Max Weber in his social action defines social action as nothing but which is intended towards others. That means which has both meaning and orientation. He classified social action as recreational social action, wherein both means and goals are rational. Word rational social action, wherein means are rational, whereas goals are not entirely rational. Goals attain value by the imposed by the society. There is traditional social action, wherein both means and ends are drawn by customs and traditions of the society. And the last one is emotional social action, wherein both means and ends are drawn by impulsive actions, instant gratifications, etc. Now, the people who are posting their opinions or their judgments on social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter are drawn by emotions. The action done by them is emotional social action as classified by Max Weber because that action is intended towards others. They are posting their opinions to be heard by the others and they're trying to influence others. That means they have both meaning in their posting their opinions and there is orientation also. That means their opinions are oriented towards others who are following their tweets or posts. Hence, it is classified as social action according to Max Weber's definition, and it is can be classified as emotional social action because they are posting their opinions based on their impulse. They are getting emotional by some event and they are posting their opinions. That's why it is emotional social action. However, in emotional social action. However, in posting such opinions and doing that emotional social action, they are enjoying power and authority also. As the Supreme Court has noted here, social media platforms are enjoying power and authority, but that particular kind of authority cannot be placed under any authorities that were classified by Max Weber, and that is what the major criticism for his power and authority and social action concepts. We can write this example in answers while writing this criticism. Moving on to the next article. In the editorial page, there is an article about the death of Father Stan Swami. While writing about the Father Stan Swami, the author has written something relevant to our sociology syllabus. Here she says, all Indians have dignity, not just the wealthy and the privileged, and the political class is ignoring that dignity or not giving that due dignity to the tribals or underprivileged sections. Now, while Max Weber has discussed bureaucracy, he almost eulogized bureaucracy as panacea to all problems. Though he himself criticized bureaucracy as iron cage of rationality, in the other aspects, he eulogized bureaucracy as an eternal panacea to every problem in the society. Now, due to that kind of Weberian bureaucracy, that kind of Weberian bureaucracy has drawn some criticisms, and one of the major criticisms to that was from Karl Marx. Karl Marx says state bureaucracy will inevitably represent the interest of the capitalist class or the dominant class or the well-off sections of the society, says Karl Marx, and all Marxists opine the same. And here also the author has written the same. All Indians have dignity, not just the wealthy and the privileged. That means only the wealthy and the privileged, only the capitalist class are being given the due dignity and not the underprivileged class, as Karl Marx has rightly criticized Max Weber. And this discrimination and in giving dignity is done by bureaucratic class only. That means political bureaucratic class or administrative bureaucratic class, one of them. That's why Karl Marx criticism is relevant here. In the next sentence, the author says, I underwent an awakening looking at Adivasi values of equality, community, and decision making by consensus. This is in our sociology syllabus in tribal communities in India. In that chapter, we have in that unit we have a chapter called definitive problems to tribals. In that particular chapter, we have something called characteristics of Indian tribes or features of Indian tribes. Now, this is again one of the features of Indian tribes. That means having values of equality, community, and decision making by consensus. But whenever we are discussing something in paper two, we have to bring in relevance of paper one. That means we have to bring in some thinker into that paper to answer. Now, here we can bring in Durkheim in that particular sentence, because Durkheim, in defining solidarity, he says there are two types of solidarity. One is mechanical solidarity and the other one is organic solidarity. Mechanical solidarity is driven by collective conscience, whereas collective conscience is very strong. Whereas in organic solidarity, there is no strong collective conscience due to specialized division of labor. Durkheim is not saying that their collective conscience is completely absent in organic solidarity, but it is present, but it is not so strong. Mechanical solidarity is due to likeness or sameness, whereas organic solidarity is based on differences and dependency, because of specialized division of labor, every individual is dependent on the other individual to satisfy his needs. Based on that dependency and based on those differences, there exists some solidarity because emerging out of the need from one another. That kind of solidarity is organic solidarity, says Durkheim. The other point is laws are repressive and conformity to the social norms is a must in mechanical solidarity societies. Whereas in organic solidarity, laws are restrictive and are aimed at restoring status quo. In mechanical solidarity, minimum deviation exists, whereas in organic solidarity, relations between individuals and groups become contractual. Hence, this in this particular sentence, we can know that these tribals or Adivasis have something in consensus. They are moving forward based on the collective conscience, and they have common consciousness for them to move them forward, to move themselves forward. That means they are living in primitive kind of societies. Though we know that they are living in primitive kind of societies, theoretically we have to prove that Durkheim divided primitive societies and modern societies based on the solidarity concept. Primitive societies, he says, are based on mechanical solidarity, whereas modern societies, he says, are based on organic solidarity. In mechanical solidarity, there is common consciousness or collective consciousness. Hence, these tribals, as they are being driven by collective consciousness, they can be said as being in mechanical solidarity societies. Here it is said how violence and this particular statement We can also refer to the our syllabus in tribal communities in India. There is a chapter definitional problems. In that, Mandelbaum says in tribal life, the principal links for the whole society are based on kinship. Kinship is not simply a principle of social organization, it is also a principle of inheritance, division of labor, and distribution of power and privileges. Now, characteristics of Indian tribes according to Mandelbaum are: first one is kinship, it is an instrument of social bonds. Second one is lack of hierarchy among men and group. Third one is absence of strong, complex formal organization. Fourth one is communitarian basis of land holding. Fifth one is they are segmentary in character. Sixth one is little value on surplus accumulation. Seventh one is psychological bent for enjoying life. Whereas features of Indian tribes according to T.B. Nayak are: first one, there is least functional interdependence within the community. Second one is they are economically backward. Third one is comparative geographical isolation. This economically backward feature we have seen in the first sentence only. The author says they are underprivileged. All Indians have dignity, not just the wealthy and the privileged. She says that means these tribes are not wealthy and they are underprivileged. That is what is one of the features according to T.B. Nayak. They are economically backward. Comparative geographical isolation is there. They have common dialect. They're politically organized and their community panchayats are highly influential and they have customary laws in nature. That means they are moving forward in collective consciousness. We have commons in general. That means they have name in common, they have territory in common, they have language in common, they have culture in common, they have endogamy in common, there is political organization in common. That means more than differences, they have commons more, and hence they are moving with collective consciousness as a whole in the society. Here it is also said how violence and dispossession was pushed down their throats and called development. Adivasis lived on lands full of minerals. Others took these out and enriched themselves, but Adivasis did not get anything. This particular point we can quote under exploitation of tribals and their resent or unrest. There is a particular topic in our syllabus in the same chapter, that is tribal communities in India, called exploitation of tribals and unrest. In that particular topic, we can add this point and we can explain how violence and dispossession was pushed upon their throats and called development. Now, that is all we have for today. If you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe to Statecraft IAS. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day.